Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video, I want to talk about something that is very near and dear to my heart, mi corazón, mon cœur, and that is, it's three main topics, okay? And somehow I'm gonna connect them. I don't know how, but I just want to start the camera and talk about this because if I think about it too much, it's never gonna happen. And that's one of the topics: overthinking, judgment, and self-talk. These are the three things I want to talk about because, you know, as I get older, I just realize how important I think being aware of these things are, at least for me. I just want to talk about my experience. If you don't know me, I'm Makaya, I'm 25. I just get on this channel to run my mouth, but also share my experiences with everyone. So yeah, I have a very bad habit of overthinking, as well as previously, I would say more so when I was a teenager and in my early 20s, judging myself to the point of feeling depression and anxiety. It was really bad, and that connects to my self-talk. You know, what I would say to myself, the things I would think about myself, how I perceived myself. I think these all had an effect on just how much I would overthink, as well as how much I would judge myself. I kind of want to get into my experience, what helped me become aware that, okay, this is not the way I want to live my life, and how I went about trying to do better and changing it. Do you wake up one night and you're just like, oh my god, I'm healed? I think that's something we're told in media, as like you'll just reach this point of euphoria and just ultimate fulfillment. I don't think that's the case. I think as humans, you know, we have emotions, we have feelings. Nothing is perfect in life, and that is the journey of it all. How do you manage those feelings when you come across something that makes you feel like shit? So that's what I want to talk about. Let's just get into it. So growing up, back in my day, I don't know about y'all, but I was on Stan Twitter. I was a huge One Direction fan, so I was on Twitter. And in this time, I would say that is when self-deprecation became, it was funny. You know, it was funny to get on the timeline, talk shit about yourself, get a few retweets, get a few likes, and dip, you know? And I think I really got caught up in this because I was doing it all under the guise of being funny. And that's just one way I like to cope, okay? I like to crack a couple jokes here and there. But as I got older, you know, 14, 15, 16, 17, girl, I was always the butt of the joke. And while the crowd went wild, what was that doing for my self-esteem if I'm always just like making fun of myself or talking badly about myself? And so eventually I started to believe these things about myself, and it has taken me a lot of time to undo these thoughts. The thoughts of, you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, maybe if you did this, you would be better. It was just always that. And I think because I was on Stan Twitter and I was a Zayn girl, Zayn was notorious for dating blondes. I was like, y'all think I could fool him? So when there's someone in, you know, that's a celebrity that you like as a young teenage girl and you see his type, obviously that has an effect on your developing brain. And so I don't even know how to put it, but pretty much I think that the things I would say to myself as a joke ultimately became true in my head. And so I think I grew up with the worst self-talk, and I'm not sure when I realized this. I feel as though I didn't realize my self-talk until I had my first therapy session, which was when I think I was 22 years old. What sent me to therapy was a guy. I got ghosted for the first time. I got started off really late when it comes to dating, and so a lot of things that people experience when they're teenagers, I didn't experience until I was in my early 20s. So I got ghosted for the first time, and I took it so personally. Oh my gosh, like, girl, world was rocked, okay? I couldn't sleep, I could not eat, I had nothing good to say about myself. I thought I was just a failure. And I remember that sent me to therapy because I was just feeling as though I can't keep doing this anymore. I can't keep losing sleep, not eating, looking in the mirror, talking about myself. It's terrible. It's a terrible routine to get into. So I went to therapy and I'm talking to my therapist. I was telling her the story, and I remember I was saying something along the lines of, it just makes sense that this happened to me because, you know, I'm not the prettiest, or I know I don't have the best body. And she stopped me and she was like, what makes you think these things about yourself? And I was confused because I was like, I mean, I don't know, it's just the way it is. And she says, but who says that? You know, like, what makes you think that's the way it is? And girl, I was literally like, I had nothing to explain for it, nothing to show for it. I couldn't even articulate how I got there or why I felt that way about myself. I just did. I remember saying that to her. I was like, it's just the way it is. And she called me out. She was like, Makiyah, I think you've gotten in this habit of having really, really bad self-talk about yourself, that these things that you're saying you genuinely believe about yourself. You know, when you tell me about your friends and the things they say about you, they say you're funny, you have a great heart, all these things, but I never hear those things out of your mouth. And I was like, never thought about it that way. You know what I mean? Never thought about it that way. And so that was the first time I think I had become aware of my self-image and how I perceive myself and how I spoke to myself. And also, while I was in therapy, I realized how hard I was on myself when she made that statement, because, you know, I'll just be transparent. Growing up, I was always a top student. You know, I was always in so many extracurriculars. I was always participating in something, you know, just because I'm a curious person. I like to be involved, engaged. And so I remember growing up, I would always hear from my teachers, from advisors, from internship leaders, whatever, friends and family, Makiyah is so smart. Makiyah is amazing. She's gonna do great things. And those compliments just in one ear, out the other. I never processed it. I never acknowledged them. But the minute I would be met with some comment of negativity or something that made me feel bad about myself, it was like, girl, that's when I got a signal. Okay, the brain showed activity, because those were like the only things I had gotten used to digesting, was negative shit about myself. And that made me realize how hard I had been on myself for the last, I don't even know, 10 years, because I never had anything good to say about myself. And even when I did, oh my god, my legs are falling asleep. Even when I did have, you know, huge accomplishments, huge successes, it meant nothing to me. Girl, I could have literally gotten a Nobel Peace Prize and I would have been like, yeah, but when I looked in the mirror today, like, I didn't like the way my edge was looking. What? I'm just telling you, this is how I all came to the realization, right? Okay, so having the realization is one thing. How do you undo it? Because that takes work. It takes work. At this point, I wasn't in therapy anymore. I was moving, so I couldn't be in therapy anymore. And so I remember before I moved, my friend recommended me, my dear friend Maya, this book, The Game of Life and How to Play It. And I remember talking to her on the phone, and she was just, you know, giving me all of the insight on this book and how amazing it was, and that I should just give it a read. You know, it's a very short read, and as you can tell, my girls ran through, so clearly she liked it. I read the book, and I remember literally after the first, I want to say, chapter, girl, lobotomy activated. My mindset had already kind of changed, and I was like, okay, wait, there's really levels to this. I remember in the first chapter, there's a quote in the book, and it says, the universe, pretty much it alludes to, the universe doesn't know the difference between a joke and the truth. You know, it just sees any statement, any thought, whatever you say or think as truth. It has meaning to it. And that immediately, I don't know, my third eye opened, because I had been making all of these terrible jokes about myself, and then years later I'm confused why these jokes had become core beliefs about myself, you know? And that was very humbling. I was literally like, I need to revamp my shit today. And so I kept reading the book, and I recommend this book to any and everyone. It talks about the law of forgiveness. It talks about manifestation. It talks about karma. My girl Florence was ahead of her time. It does use a lot of quotes from the Bible as examples, but please, as a former religious girly, please just hear her out, okay? Just hear her out. I have trauma religion, but this book is my go-to. So I kept reading the book, and then I learned so much from that book on how your thoughts have power just as much as your words do. After I had this realization, I kind of tried to take a pause on the self-deprecating jokes, you know? And so I was like, girl, get some new material. Get some new material. Stop making jokes about yourself, okay? It's not funny anymore, okay? Not funny enough for myself. So I stopped. And that took a lot of work, but you know, when you funny, you know, you do what you gotta do. You pull from something, okay? You pull from something. I'm leaving here with something. Anyway, so then, while I wasn't saying verbatim bad things about myself, the hardest part was changing my thoughts. And am I saying to this day, I don't have a negative thought that tries to, you know, sprint across? Of course, you know, I'm human. They still be sneaking in here and there. But how do you manage them? How do you tell yourself, that's enough? That has no meaning to it. That's not true. And so as I kept reading through the book, it talks about the power of your thoughts. Something I'm still working through to this day. On managing my thoughts, because, you know, especially in today's day and age, it's just normal for your brain to run 1,000,000 miles per minute. Do you know what I mean? It never stops. There's so many things between constantly scrolling on TikTok, dating apps, ooh, that's all she can pull from. What you watch online, the games we play, the music we listen to, we're constantly stimulated. And so I think, of course, I was bound to overthink. There's always going on. I started to do affirmations, but affirmations that meant something to me, you know, and that is different for everyone, because we all are working through different things. Because my struggle is dealing with negative beliefs and negative thoughts about myself, anytime I would encounter one of those thoughts, I had to immediately, I was like, girl, shut up. That's not true, and move on. Or I would try ways to help myself be in the present, live in the present. Because when I would overthink, I would constantly be thinking about the past or the future. I didn't know where I was physically. Girl, I could have been underground. I was like, and you know, when that person did to me 15 years ago, it really struck a nerve. Because so I took a note from my therapist. She told me, anytime you feel yourself overthinking, try a grounding practice. And what has helped for me is breathing, but also identifying things around me, you know, whether that's color, whether that's an ad, whether that's what kind of shoes someone has on. I just physically identify, and that helps me ground myself, you know. For example, if I'm overthinking and I'm on a walk, I'll be like, oh my god, these trees. One, I tell myself, enough. The trees are so green today. Look at that hummingbird. Wow. I love the part of this song where the violins play. Oh my gosh, look at the kids running through the park with their dog. I'm identifying things in my physical present space that can help me, okay, live in the now. And that's something I'm still working through, but that's something that helps me. But I would say something else is I love to read. And I got 2 more book recs for you, okay? Because while the game of life and how to play it helped me change my overall thinking and helped me understand the power of how you think and speak and act, I needed more examples, you know, because it's one thing to be like, just ground yourself, just live in the present, just do this, da 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 da. I was still catching myself worried about how I would be perceived and what others thought of me. That's when these 2 heavy hitters come in, The Alchemist and The 4 Agreements. This book, oh my lordy, so good. And also the world building in this and the description and the detail is just amazing. I don't really know how to put this book into words other than it really just helped me. I hate to be like, it's not that deep, but it really solidified the idea that the you worry about on a day-to-day basis genuinely does not matter. Because we are here for a bigger purpose, and that's something only you can identify for yourself. But I think with, like I said, everything that's happening in our day-to-day life, it becomes hard to identify that because there's so much noise. There's just so much happening. This book, The Alchemist, does something similar to this book. This one's more like this woman is talking from her own experience, you know, on some podcast, low-key. This one does a great job of the storytelling aspect of it all. It takes you on a journey, okay? This is a great book, as well as The Four Agreements. I was gifted this book by my dear friend Domby, and I'll just read them real quick. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best. This book helped me alleviate my tendency of overthinking, because I think the two main agreements of don't take anything personally and don't make assumptions helped me, you know, just practice being honest more and not being afraid of confrontation and talking to people and communicating, as well as recognizing that everyone has their own things happening in their life. And I think as someone who was always thinking about how they were perceived by other people, this book helped me realize people are only usually thinking about themselves. People are only thinking about what they got going on. You know what I mean? And so these three books really helped me in, I would say, my overthinking journey. I definitely recommend each and every one of you give these a read. And they're not crazy long. They're great books. So that's like the material that helped me. And next, I want to talk about judgment, because I think it relates to everything. Once I learned how to better manage my thoughts and to be present and to not be so freaking mean to myself, I think that really helped me not judge myself as well as others, because the game of life and how to play it, girl, it said whatever you think about other people, that's gonna come to you tenfold. And I didn't want to be the kind of person who was always negative, who always has something to say. You know, like everything, not to be the crystal, but everything is energy, and so you really need to be mindful how you spend your energy. And I think that when I started to practice my craft more, get closer to my purpose, which The Alchemist helped me identify, which is being creative, doing photography, being social, like doing more videos. It's crazy, but while practicing my creativity a lot more and expressing myself more, it caused me to just feel more at ease, you know, because I just have feeling this is what I should be doing. I feel comfortable doing this, and I'm not worried about, you know, trying to make it fit, because it already does, if that makes sense. I think reading has helped me, as well as I've never been the person who's super into journaling, but this helps me. Video diaries, just getting my thoughts out and kind of articulating them into the ether, as well as being mindful about what I am thinking about and learning to be in the present more. These are all things that helped me manage my thoughts, help me stop judging myself and being so hard on myself, as well as working on my self-judgment. I think they all correlate, but it's something that takes active work. I think that these things that I've shared have helped me, as well as I use fitness as a way to, as a release. It really helps my mental health. I love to move my body. I was a dancer growing up, and so my relationship with dance is always weird to talk about, because I love the activity and the movement and the art of dance. However, I think the minute I got into high school, dance made me super hyper aware of my body, and ultimately it caused me to judge myself even more. You know, I started off as a dancer doing hip hop, and so I was always in baggy clothes, and I was a kid, I wasn't even thinking about it. But the minute, you know, I started to take more technical classes, such as jazz, ballet, modern, you have to wear tights, leotards. It was an Aki experience, just because I had never been so hyper aware of how my body looked. And you know, as a teenager, that's a whole other ball game, you know, being a teenage girl, going through changes with your body. It was a lot. And so I love dancing, and I still do it. I would like to get into it more, but I think once I transitioned more into the technical aspect of changing, it became a really rocky relationship because it just catapulted how much I was judging myself, if that makes sense. But as I got older, I would say I never grew up in the gym. This is why I'm saying all this. I never grew up in the gym. I was just always in a dance studio, but the gym really intimidated me as a young adult because I didn't know what I was doing. I had never lifted weights before, and that's the last place I wanted to be, you know? In a place where people look great, people are working on themselves, and I'm new, I don't know what I'm doing, and I also hate the way I look. It was crazy, but I remember my stepdad, he brought me to the gym with him. He showed me all of the machines and how to use them, and that I'm very grateful for because my relationship with the gym, it's never been about, oh, I want to go so I can look like this. I want to go because I want to look like this. I had gotten to a point where I had no physical outlet, and I'd been used to moving my body my whole life. Once I got to college, that stopped. And so I was just feeling really down. And so I think that fitness, whether it's hiking or swimming or, you know, lifting weights, dancing, whatever it may be, that physical aspect of moving my body really helps me stay present and be present. And girl, them endorphins, that's a drug to me, okay? I just love moving my body, and I think that's also helped with just my mental health as well. I know it sounds cliche, but the girlies aren't lying. Fitness looks different for everyone, and so that's why I switch it up. But reintroducing movement back into my routine and my life has really helped me stay present. I hope this all has been helpful. I think the moral of the story is, one, I definitely need y'all to read these books. I need y'all to tap into these books, but also I think we get really thrown off and caught off guard by all of the bullshit honestly life throws you. And I think when I was younger, I always thought that as I got older, I would be closer to this moment of ultimate fulfillment, you know? That as you get older, things get more perfect. And I've realized that nothing in life is perfect. You know, as a human, you're not perfect. And having that realization has really humbled me and made me forget all the noise for real and lead me closer to things that make me feel more comfortable, you know, in my body and my space and as a person. And so I think finding what those things are for myself, like I love to read, I love movement, I love meeting people, I love being creative. These have simultaneously also helped me lower my overthinking, lower the self-judgment, lower the negative self-talk, because I'm getting closer to things that resonate with me as a person. I hope this makes sense, but that's just what I wanted to share. If you have any questions on the books, or if you guys want to hear more on, you know, different experiences that I've had as a young buck, please let me know. Another moral of the story, just be patient with yourself. I am nowhere near saying that I've mastered everything. It's still something I have to be intentional about every single day. But I'm just here to say it does get better. It does. And that sounds probably like bullshit, like, but trust me, y'all, because I used to be the bitch on Tumblr, like, angsty as hell. It does get better, trust. Okay, I love you all. Thank you for watching. And yeah, I will see y'all next time. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe, leave a comment, leave a follow, come on. And if you want to see more of me and my work, follow me on my Instagram. That's where everything's at. Okay, I love y'all so much. Bye.